Hello and welcome to Converter Unknown, episode number 2. I am your host, Aaron Young, and we're going to talk about catalytic converters today. Really what they are, what's inside of them, what's inside of the contents that are inside of the catalytic converter, how they work, what they look like, how many are on a vehicle, etc. So without wasting any more of your time, this is going to be a quick podcast today. Just explaining what they are. So I'm going to dive right into when it all started. So the Clean Air Act of 1970 really started the catalytic converter coming onto the scene. And they worked so good at converting the exhaust that comes out of the vehicle's motor, the bad hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxides, in that exhaust are converted by the precious metals that are inside of that monolith, the platinum, palladium, and rhodium, into less bad hydrocarbons, the carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and water vapor. Funny note, and I'm sure right when I said water vapor, you were thinking, oh, I've seen vehicles have water, pouring out of their tailpipe, Until I started into this industry, I had no idea the magic that a catalytic converter actually does. So anyway, that's actually the catalytic converter working when you see the water vapor or the water just coming out of the tailpipe of the vehicle. So when that monolith is heated up, like I said before, it converts those gases. And that's also why when you start your vehicle, for a few minutes until the vehicle gets to operating temperature, that catalytic converter is not working. So that is the downfall, I suppose, if you wanted to give a catalytic converter a downfall, is that it takes a few minutes to work. That's why you smell that smell for a few minutes when you start up the vehicle. But let's move into what they look like and maybe the types of catalytic converters that there are. So there's many different shapes and sizes and quantities that come on vehicles. For the most part, they're probably the size of a loaf of bread is a standard catalytic converter on a vehicle. And there's also catalytic converters that are manifold cats that are bolted directly to the motor. And the effectiveness of both are very, very similar. Whether that gas reaches it a foot away or directly off the motor, really doesn't matter. But, in future episodes, we're going to discuss theft of these. And I would argue that if there were all manifold cats on vehicles, this theft wouldn't be a problem. But I don't want to pollute this episode with the theft issue, because that will be probably the antithesis of this entire program, is talking about, where do we go with the theft issue. But anyway, so moving right along into maybe the types of catalytic converters that there are. There's a ceramic cat, and there's also a metallic cat. The ceramic cat is the honeycomb, what we call honeycomb, and those thousands of little ports have platinum, palladium, and rhodium plated inside of those little ports. And as the exhaust passes through, that's when the magic happens and that conversion takes place. And the same with the metallic cat. The metallic cat's just metal. It's what we call a foil, and it's rolled. It's often a high flow cat. You're often going to see those on high performance vehicles because they tend to breathe a lot better on those high performance vehicles. So it's interesting that you get a lot of individuals that they let us know they have a Lamborghini or their status of Range Rover or whatever they're trying to sell, and they're automatically thinking that because that vehicle costs $200,000 that they have a cat that's worth a couple of $1,000, if not more, because retail tells them that. Well, the commodities side is different, and the effectiveness of that catalytic converter on a Lamborghini, it serves different purposes. So my point was that often those cats aren't really as valuable as, say, a Honda or a Kia cat, that their main focus, besides safety, of course, is is being a good steward of the environment. So their catalytic converters are loaded with platinum, palladium, and rhodium. So, that reaction is not 100%, but 98% effectiveness. I think that's also a great segue into where platinum, palladium, and rhodium come from. I won't get into the mining details, but platinum and palladium and rhodium are mined in two locations. Really, the mass majority of it is South Africa and Russia. And, if you've been following any type of news, what's going on in Russia. So, the commodities market's been kind of a roller coaster in terms of pricing. But the reason why that's important is because the recycling of catalytic converters is the main source of these precious metals coming back into the system, not only being reused in auto catalysts, but amongst thousands of other things that we use in our everyday lives. So when people give solutions, and we'll talk about this later, but a solution people give to, the theft issue is that we should stop recycling them. Well, there needs to be a lot more research done, and that comment is extremely false. You can look up what platinum and palladium are used for and realize the very phone that you're using to listen to my podcast, the microchips have palladium in it. And the main reason that these metals are used is because of the durability against heat, against high heat. So I'm no precious metals expert, but I do know during my research that I have come to conclude that the recycling of these is really, really important to our future, our green future for that matter, whether it's microchips, cancer medication, the batteries that we're going to be converting over to. There is research going on and stuff about what can replace these certain metals, but nothing really mainstream has come of it just yet. And what I would do is go ahead and look up platinum group metals and check out the prices. Today alone, you're looking at an ounce of platinum is $908. An ounce of palladium is $21.73, and an ounce of rhodium is $13,000. And these two metals, the palladium and rhodium, are more valuable than gold itself. So, I could rabbit trail all day on this subject, but I definitely don't want to bore you all. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this short podcast today. And as we move forward, we're going to interview people in the industry and law enforcement and how they perceive the industry, and recyclers, and how catalytic converters are a different revenue stream for them, and the mom and pop garage shops that take that catalytic converter and make a little bit of money on it. All these different avenues. We probably have years of content ahead of us, and hopefully you guys like it. So until next time, thank you for listening. It's been my pleasure. My name's Aaron Young, and I was your host today. Have a great day.